What is up, Watch fam? Happy Friday, and welcome to this week's Liquor Run. I am Christian from Theo and Harris, and this is my old man, Rolly. Today, we're going to be jumping into a bottle that we were drinking on last week's episode of Liquor Run. We actually recorded these episodes back to back, and now we're going to be talking about the new Panerai, which comes in at 38 millimeters, the smallest ever produced. Good or bad? We'll see.
Well, I don't know.
All right, you are wearing a watch very appropriate for today's episode. A cool new Panerai you just got.
The radio mirror.
Love that watch, right?
Loving it.
I know I do from a distance. I love it on your wrist. I'll get used to it too. You've just been wearing it for a while, so you're becoming more accustomed to the look of it. I'm wearing.
Stay away. Stay away.
I'm wearing a Rolex 1601, my first watch ever, on a T&H Jean Rousseau strap, the Type 1. The whole
Beautiful
collection
watch.
of the
Beautiful
T&H
watch.
Jean Rousseau straps are available in the watch shop at theoandharris.com. One better than the other, and they are all better than every other strap on the market, dollar per dollar. So that's a pretty big statement, but I stand behind it.
And we're continuing with great wine with Bernhard Art.
Yes.
Brunoveltliner.
A delicious wine.
Delicious
We're
wine.
getting a lot of green apple. You're seeing a lot of honeysuckle.
A little salt.
When's the last time you had a honeysuckle, by the way?
I was living on Staten Island. We had a honeysuckle shrub in the back.
How old were you?
I was young. I was 11, 12 years old.
Isn't that so funny about
And we
wine?
used to pull the honeysuckles from the shrub.
The last time the guy had a honeysuckle
Pull the
was when he was
stem,
11.
and you get the sap, little nectar, and I remember that flavor.
So realistically, you haven't had a honeysuckle since you were 11. You're 53?
Yeah, not yet, but 52,
Almost.
yeah.
Not yet, yeah. Okay, so you're 52
Just
then.
turned 52.
So you're 52. And you remember that. You know, I think that's
do.
incredible about wine.
But that's how you can relate the taste of wine, these scents and these experiences that you have
From forever ago.
from forever ago.
But they come back.
And they come back when all of a sudden it hits you. That's the beauty of it. Now, we're not going to talk too much about this one because we
Right.
talked about it last week.
Yeah, which you guys should definitely watch. We talked about, what did we talk about? What did we talk about?
To a Federer.
We talked about Roger Federer and one of the most amazing, partnerships with a watch brand and a person ever. Roger Federer Rolex. I highly recommend you guys watch that episode. Probably one of the best liquor runs we've ever recorded, and I mean that. Talked about branding and talked about communication and selling things. Honestly, and I think that was a really big, important thing that Rolex does very well. Anyway, let's jump into this topic real quick. It's gonna be an interesting conversation. Panerai is a brand that you are very passionate about, that I'm very passionate about. It's not a brand that I talk about often. I have a natural, not adversity, but sports watches aren't my thing. Big sports watches are not my cup of tea. But Panerai is one of the few brands that manufactures, sports watches that I do like. Despite, brand inconsistencies sometimes, despite, certain design choices that I don't like, it doesn't bother me. But the ones that really hit it really well. So naturally I have a place for that brand in my heart. But one of the big, quote unquote problems with Panerai for many people is their size. Panerais really are 44 and 45 millimeters. Some are 40, and even that was considered small when it was introduced. But 44, 45, that's the mass of the PAM world. Now, people like me with wrists around 6 3/4 inches don't make any joke about my wrist. Okay.
Yeah, no, I'm not too far behind you. I've got a
you're a little
small
over
wrist.
7.
Sure, and I struggled with this one when we first got it.
Right.
Like, oh, geez.
Right. So I feel like there's definitely a common feeling in the watch community, like, geez, I love Panerai, but I just couldn't pull off that's case size. So then they introduced this 38 millimeter Luminor.
Yeah.
With a beautiful sandwich dial. They introduced it in 2 separate variations.
Gorgeous.
One in this white or cream dial, and then one in this almost slate. I think that they're really terrific looking watches. I think they would fit my wrist really wonderfully.
Yes.
For a 38, my point of reference for a 38 is a vintage Tudor, Oyster Perpetual jumbo.
Right.
And I haven't tried this watch on, but I have a feeling it wears a little bit larger, given the Luminor classic,
Absolutely.
crown protector.
guard, yeah.
Given the lugs, given everything, I think it's a larger watch. Do you think that there's an intrinsic problem in Panerai, a brand that manufactured large watches for a reason, introducing something, give or take, 7 millimeters smaller than usual?
I think the size will be very polarizing. The purists will hate that. They'll detest it.
Right.
And then there'll be guys like us.
They're just like, that's fucking cool.
Damn, I can get into Panerai.
Yeah.
I can now wear, a size 8.5 shoe.
Yeah. Yeah, right.
When all they sold was a 10.5.
Right.
That's what I see with this watch.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, I may be in the minority.
No, you're in the majority.
Okay.
And that's, that was one of the big theses, theses, Anna says. Feces?
Yeah. Feces. Not feces.
Not feces.
Feces if you've got a lift.
Going into, like Mike Tyson, going into Theo and Harris was, okay, the people we know most directly would hate this Panerai, right? Like that's the POV.
Right.
They're super purists. Everything is like real hard to the book. And then there's the rest of the world that looks at something, even critically. I don't mean they just consume it. They look at it critically and they say, you know what? I like it for what it is, and I think it's a really, really interesting, well-proportioned piece. And I have no problem with the fact that it's made a concession on size, which might be historically inaccurate. That's how I feel, and that's kind of why at Theo and Harris, we've opted to go with watches like the Datejust, or as opposed to, double red, sea dwellers, things that are really isolating, right? So for me and you, this Panerai is a hit. But the other big issue here, apart from size,
is what?
Is water resistant.
I've heard about this.
So Panerai history, real loose, real informal. First was the Radiomir, which is your watch. Then was the Luminor. I believe the Luminor was introduced in the mid-1940s. If I'm wrong, please correct me in the comments. The Luminor was, created to be, and then history has told us, a dive watch. A true tool watch. Marine officer's watch. In that, we assume that water resistance needs to be larger than 100 meters. 100 meters being what, 300 feet?
Yeah, probably close to 300 feet. Yeah.
Now today, of course, most people wearing a Panerai will never go 300 feet, in the water. But the question is, despite the fact that no one wearing a Panerai, or almost no one wearing a Panerai, will go that deep, should the watches still be able to sustain that depth? What do you think? Or is it just gratuitous and unnecessary?
I think the question is, how many people that buy these watches, regardless whether it's Panerai, Rolex, and so on and so forth, how many are actually buying them because of the water resistance?
I think there's a minimum, but then after that,
no, I understand. I think there's
pools,
right. Right, but how many pools they're 300 feet?
Exactly my point.
Right. So
water resistance only it only concerns me so
they're
far.
Wearing a banana hammock, and a margarita, a mocchi di banano, and that's about it. They're dipping their feet in the water,
and that's
it's complete vanity. That's why you're wearing it.
So to me, it almost. It's. I understand the perspective. Oh, a Panerai historically needs to be 100 meters.
Right.
I get that completely. Right. I don't think you're wrong. I just don't give a shit. This watch is 30 meters, water resistance.
Yeah.
And that's it's 98 feet.
Come on.
Yeah. What the
What are you looking for, the monster in the Black Lagoon?
Where are you going? Get out of here. Where are you going?
No,
and once again, I don't disagree with you. I understand your perspective. I get that you're right. I just personally don't put no weight in what you put weight in.
From a purist standpoint, yes, we agree. But from a more practical standpoint, and from the fact that what's more important here is that you're giving people access to a smaller head.
Yeah.
That
case.
A case.
You're getting head.
You're getting less head. And you're paying more. Oh my God, it's been my life story. Oh, Jesus Christ. You're getting a smaller case, and you can wear a Panerai.
Right. And it's putting it on the wrists of so many more people.
Right.
So to me, it's a layup move. Panerai should absolutely manufacture these watches in 38 millimeters. You're opening it up to a huge base.
I love it. It's disruptive. It pisses people off.
Yeah.
I'm in.
I'm in too. And
I love it. Oh, I love it.
These watches are pretty cool. And for you Panerai purists out there that think that we're nuts, your critique is going to be, well, you're not purist, and that's cool, man. Respect. like you get who I am, I get who you are, and we move on. Okay, we
move on
to larger, like Sri Lanka. That's an American Psycho reference. I don't know if you guys got that. But that's it, guys. Thank you so much for watching this episode. I highly recommend this bottle of wine because we just finished it. It went down my throat. And that's it. I'll see you guys all on Monday for Rant TNH.